Hello and welcome to the Too Much Time on Our Hands podcast. You're joining the awesome foursome. There are four of us. Dan is just sort of bending down slightly, even though we are streaming. If you're watching on the YouTubes, hello, everyone, wave. Hello.
Stan, the whole bit just then when we said, right, is everyone set? We're all good. We're all ready to go. You're just being a maverick, are you?
Yeah, I was trying to hide. And then I saw
absolute maverick, an absolute maverick renegade.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back in time. If I could, we could go back in time and redo that intro, but we're not going to. I'm just going to introduce us first before we get onto the topic. Russ, hello.
What's up?
Duncan, hello.
Bonsoir.
Dan, hello.
Hi, Tom.
And obviously I'm Tom. Hello. Now, that was one of the shoddiest intros that we've ever done to a podcast.
It's entirely my fault, and I do apologize.
And as I said, if I could, I would turn back time so that we could do it all over again.
I would find a way.
Exactly, but I can't do that. So that's got me thinking. Right, so basically, there was an article that came out that I saw on a couple of websites. One of them in particular was IGN. You could be forgiven for expecting me to have this article on my phone ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But why would you do that when you could go back time and show that you were prepared?
Absolutely. Okay, so paradox-free time travel has been proven possible by a physics student. So just to give you the long and short of this, the rules of time travel have been debated by scientists and sci-fi fans for absolutely years and years and years and years and years. And a student has now been able to square the numbers, as the article says, to show how paradox-free time travel is theoretically possible because of the posited ability to create closed time loops.
I mean, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to understand kind of what a time loop is, Back to the Future 2 is effectively one of those kind of alternate time loops. So the timeline that they create with Biff having his almanac and becoming like the ruler of, I can't remember what it's called. Sunny, I can't remember what they call it.
Current United States of America, I think you'll find, Tom.
There we go. And so that becomes sort of part of a separate timeline, which they managed to close off and all that sort of stuff. So basically it's saying that, you can, in theory, go back in time and do all sorts of stuff, even though the action you take might adjust in the future the reason for the action. So for instance, they use this as an example, COVID-19 outbreak. Now, after it's all happened, someone like me going back in time to prevent whatever it is that happens that causes COVID, or at least to advise people to do something different, if it changes things enough that COVID is prevented, then by that sort of stretch of logic, the reason for me to go back in time won't have happened, and therefore I can't go back in time.
Yeah,
that's effectively what they're saying, is that the cause and effect of something that you do in the past is dictated by why you chose to do it in the first place. Anyway, basically what they're saying, don't worry about that. It's fine. You can just do whatever the fuck you like. You can go wherever you want. You can do it. You're not going to create a paradox. Don't worry about it, because once you're an entity in time, that's it. So basically, you can do what you like. So we started thinking to ourselves, let's do a podcast about that. Let's have a look at the ways that people go back in time. Originally, it was going to be films, but Duncan insisted we expand it to all of popular culture. And we're going to be
Braga models was an odd choice, though.
Yeah. So we're going to look at.
I didn't insist. I just said, "Can we?" And you went,
"It's more
yeah,
just
babes."
of a casual WhatsApp, really. I mean, you're implying a level of forcefulness and anger that was very much not implied.
It was like,
it was a comedic...
"Hey, babes, can we do this, please?" And you said, "Totes," and I went, "Thanks, babes," and you're like, "Yeah."
It was a comedic device. I swear to God, I'm being smacked down for comedic devices.
Did we pull that apart successfully there, Tom?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, very nice. That was deconstructed. If I could, I would go back in time
and create a better joke
and set it up so that you guys all received an electric shock from whatever headphones you're wearing right now. And then it would look like you were laughing at my joke. There in YouTube land would be going, oh, he's the toast of society, this guy. Anyway, so yeah, why don't we kick this off? Who wants to go first and talk about their preferred method of time travel?
Okay, my preferred method of time travel is between two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So my preferred method of time travel is the hot tub time machine.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant.
Simply because all you do is you get fucked up in a hot tub and you end up in the 80s, which is just great.
But you have to spill that Chernobyl energy drink.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is that whilst I want to travel back to the 80s, I need something a bit more controllable.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you want to go back to the 80s?
We'll get to that.
Is that okay? Fine.
I've got a long line of things that will slightly improve my life that I want to change, like massive changes that I can do that will slightly improve my life, basically, of things that I
Dan just wants to go back to the 80s to be able to fully appreciate Walter Payton and the 85 Bears.
It's like that's a start. That's part of it, but we'll get to it in a bit. So instead, I'm going to use the phone booth from Bill and Ted.
Oh, well, that's it. I'm going to use two. In my first choice, I'm going to use two. But who wouldn't use the phone booth? I mean, it is the optimal, isn't it?
I don't remember that tweet when you said. I mean, you know that's a film, right? Bill and Ted. You specifically asked for Barago models and tarot cards. So, like, you know, that's it's none of them.
So I start piling it on Duncan. Everyone else runs to his defense, and then the second that I've already started the trend, Dan jumps on the bandwagon a little bit later. It's just, this is bullshit, man. I start these trends. Okay, so we've got what? Hot tub time machine is the preferred method because it would be nice to get fucked up.
If I could control where I was going in the hot tub time machine.
So if you could sort of set the controls first before you get in and get fucked up.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'll take the hot tub time machine then,
Okay.
Then get in, get fucked up, because there's a lot of stops on the way back to the present that I need to make.
Mm-hmm.
So would Rufus come with the phone box though?
I don't know.
There's usually two people in the phone box comfortably. So if it's just you, then it could be you and Rufus, and then you've got it's George Carlin that plays.
Yeah,
Rufus,
actually, I was about to say I'll bring a buddy, but fuck you guys, I'll take George Carlin. That sounds way more.
Is it George Carlin that plays Rufus?
It is. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, that sounds far more entertaining. Yeah, I'll take George Carlin with me.
Good call.
Good call. Okay, so who's next? Preferred method.
Tom, why don't you guys? You suggested the topic.
I love the way you confidently say who's next, like we planned this or worked out an order or anything.
Yeah, short straws. So my preferred method of time travel. Yeah, you certainly did. Duncan was telling us a very interesting story about him swimming. What were you doing? You were going in the sea collecting samples of some description.
Yeah,
Duncan, tell us the story.
Yeah, and apparently the water temperature, despite wearing a wetsuit and whatever else he was wearing, was so cold that when he went for a wee later, he literally could not find his own penis.
It was almost like that. It was something. It was nearly not recognizable as what it was meant to be.
It was down to a foot, so you know.
Yeah, had to spend a good 20 minutes coaxing it out with one of those hand warmers. Anyway, okay, so my preferred time travel method is the Terminator time travel method, because I really like the idea of, if I were to use this multiple times, of always, no matter when I used it, turning up nude.
I was about to say that.
You can turn up nude places without having to time travel. You know that's an option that's available to you, don't you?
Yeah, no. I mean, no, but it's specifically the ability to almost appear in a time bubble and for everyone to be going, holy shit, what's this? And then just, it's a nude guy.
It's just like, bam, testicles.
But the thing is,
I to my motorbike. No, I'm fine.
I'm right. Just lend me your scarf. That'll be good. That'll be enough. I mean, to be honest, what I'd like though is so in the first film, Arnie appears, crouched down in the classic pose, but Kyle Reese appears kind of, 10 feet in the air between those two buildings and wham, lands on the concrete. I would like it if I could appear 2 feet above the ground. So every time the time bubble appears, and I just kind of, it's just a short kind of fall on the floor.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be quite dramatic.
Into a tuck.
Yeah, exactly. Straight into duck, or just
the
on-
momentum just swings it back round. Yeah,
Absolutely. Also, I like the fact that it is effectively like a time bubble. You know, like a bubble of time appears, and it kind of erases everything that's in that bubble when you appear. I like the
that's
idea
really
of
cool.
leaving an impact. Also, the best visualization of that in the film is the one from Terminator 3. Even though it's quite a weak film, actually the way they did it, because it appears as like that kind of ball of mercury, and then that grid appears in it, and it burns and burns and burns and burns and burns, and then you appear. It just looks cool. It looks really cool in number 3. So yeah, that's my preferred method. Nudity, 2 feet above the ground, maybe melting some stuff.
you want to make an entrance, don't you?
Yeah, I want, cops to constantly be going, it's an electrical disturbance, like at the beginning of Terminator 2. Yeah, that'd be it. Kick ass, man.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, random light, shine your light on the next person who's going to talk about the thing. Russ.
Thank you. So I think I'm going to go for relativistic travel as my method of choice. So if you get in a spaceship and go as close to the speed of light as you can, then you'll travel through time. And the reason that this is my favorite is because it's the one that would actually work, in the sense that it shifts the, well, you can't do that, that's impossible aspect of it, from time traveling to going at a high enough fraction of the speed of light for this to be possible. That is not possible. We're not talking about going fast, talking about time traveling. So yeah, you get in a spaceship, you go as fast as you can for a bit, and then what takes a month or two for you could have had hundreds of years go past in the real world. And that would actually work if you can go fast enough, which you can't, so it won't work.
You're making me sound stupid for my idea of just getting fucked up in a hot tub.
Oh, this isn't my idea. I didn't come up with it. You can thank Einstein for this.
Isn't this also what they did? I don't know, Interstellar was the wormhole, wasn't it? But it's,
that's effectively what happened in Interstellar. The reason that time passed so much faster on Earth than it did for Coop, and it's in the they use it in the Orson Scott Card books as well, the Ender books. That's how they. Well, it's not how they do time travel in that way. The drawbacks of it are that it only goes in one direction. You can only go forwards in time. But it's pretty cool. Get in your car, go for a drive, and then you get to where you're going, and it's 1,000 years in the future.
I mean,
so if you ever just think, well, this is a bit shit, it's a bit boring, isn't it? You can just
what would you do?
Skip to the future.
1,000 years in the future.
Well, it depends what's going on, doesn't it?
Okay.
Do you remember that episode of Red Dwarf where they find the time dilation device?
Yeah.
And they're in the middle of deep space, and Crichton pushes them back in time 2,000 years. It goes, and it's like, it looks exactly the same. It's like, well, of course, it's deep space, but in medieval time.
You've invented a device that is simultaneously the most groundbreaking scientific innovation of all time and utterly useless.
Yeah. So that's obviously the thing we need here as well, isn't it? Is the ability to also have a device that gets you to a location.
Yeah.
Rather than
just. Wasn't that kind of the principle of the bird of prey in which Star Trek movie, when they go back to get the whales to save the Earth?
It's the Voyage Home, isn't it? Is that?
Yeah,
5?
I hate describing that film because it makes it sound really shit.
And it's wicked.
It's all right. It's not
fucking
the best
awesome.
Star Trek film.
They're in a bloody Romulan bird of prey. Cool vessel.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to correct you here, aren't I?
Is it not a bird of prey?
Nah, it's a Romulan warbird. Bird of prey is Klingon.
Oh, sorry, warbird. I'm not a fucking Trekkie.
Well,
I'm not a nerd.
I thought they're in a Klingon ship, aren't they?
Is it a Klingon ship? I can't remember.
It's a Klingon bird of prey. It's not a Romulan warbird.
Oh right, okay. Oh, I was right.
Because it's got the invisibility.
Fuck me, we're never getting laid again, are we?
Because they land it in the middle of a park in New York for like a week.
I get that cold again.
How often did you really get laid anyway?
I know. Let's just keep talking about Star Trek. Actually, I'm fine with it.
So talking about the whole you have to have a guided locational thing for your time travel as well. Something that's always bothered me in time travel. So in what sense is the position? What is it relative to? If you go back in time 1 second, relative to the point in space that you are occupying, the Earth will have moved. It will have rotated. The sun will have moved around the center of the Earth. You most likely you would just pop up in the middle of deep space.
Mm.
If you traveled in time but not space,
that's the
you're not
unrealistic
going to be
part
in
of
the
time
same
travel, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one thing that's unrealistic about it.
That's the bit that I
And it
feel
brings up
is the
questions
real...
about like position in space-time. It's all relative, isn't it? There's no definite position of anything. So how the fuck do you factor in time to that? What are you traveling relative to?
So
Well, you can roughly predict.
Sorry, Duncan knows the answer to this.
I've got a handy thing, because this is why I wanted TV, maybe TV film, but TV, was because I would have the TARDIS, because it actually encompasses space and time within the whole thingy.
Mhm.
So so that's why I would use the TARDIS. It's big inside. I can get all my stuff. It's got the whole language issue.
It's probably got a hot tub in it as well.
It's probably got a hot tub in it.
Yeah. I think it does have a hot tub in it.
It has an automatic translator, so I could just hop around. It might not interfere, but I feel like I would be far more of a voyeur, just going back and answering big historical questions like, did King Arthur exist?
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't want to know that?
The TARDIS that's hovering outside Marilyn Monroe's window. Yeah.
The thing is, though, I feel kind of stupid because, like, at no point during my prep for this episode did I even remember that the TARDIS was the thing.
TARDIS is obviously the best one as well.
I know,
the TARDIS is kind of too good.
Yeah,
but it can just do anything.
It does answer your question, Russ. Absolutely bang on, Duncan. It does, because of course TARDIS stands for time and relative dimensions in space.
Yeah.
Do you know what annoys me about the TARDIS? It includes the "and" in that.
Yeah.
Well, it should just be an ampersand.
You couldn't call it the TARDIS, could you?
TARDIS. Yeah. No, true.
TARDIS.
I've had a couple of people respond saying the TARDIS actually as well, but it does make me feel pretty silly that I didn't think of it.
Actually, my one of choice would be the magic map in Time Bandits.
Well, yeah, I mean that's basically
because that's actually also covers space and time. It is a map of space and time.
Well, with that one, you kind of got the get out free card of it being God doing it, so you don't have to worry about anything. He'll sort it out.
I mean, the phone booth, just in Bill and Ted, it is a mode of transport as well. Like,
and it does cover space as well.
Yeah, the DeLorean as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one's mentioned the DeLorean.
Yes, but I mean, the DeLorean's not going to do you much good if you end up in space. I don't think it was a
no. By all means,
vessel.
just keep traveling forward in time, Russ. Though that's the that's the answer, isn't it?
This is the thing. But while we're inventing Google and buying Apple shares at the right time, Russ is 50 million years in the future, trying to go so fast that time suddenly starts to run back. Just like, see you later, Russ. Like, by the time the Earth has consumed itself.
There's another quite good one that I like, which is there's a Michael Crichton book called Timeline. I think it got turned into a really shitty film. And in that, you travel in time by getting miniaturized so small that you go into the quantum realm. It is basically the quantum realm.
Yeah.
In fact, now I think about it, it literally is going into the quantum realm. You go so small using quantum computers that you sort of pop out in a different time. That's quite cool.
Which actually happens also in
a different time.
Yeah. Very good. It's what also happened in Interstellar, because he ends up in the quantum, and that's why he actually happens to exist at all times and space instantaneously.
Yeah,
that was brilliant. Times and
but that bit at the end of Interstellar is kind of explained away by going, "Oh, future humans built it," without really sort of saying what it is or how it is. Or anything.
I think Interstellar is my second least favorite Christopher Nolan film.
I loved Interstellar. I didn't have a clue. Yeah, you had to kind of pay attention, but it was good.
Interstellar, Dark Knight Rises, they were right.
See, so this is one. So I always pick on Terminator for kind of time loop weirdness. Like, not only is the time travel just, in my opinion, hilarious. It's like you can't do it unless you're naked. Right,
I love that.
But also, Skynet
I don't think they wrote that, and it was quite late on in the script where they wrote the thing about no metal going back, and then it was really later that someone went, "Hang on, he's a fucking robot. How are we going to deal with this?
Shit.
Cover
Living
him in skin.
tissue.
Now he's nude."
Yeah. See, they also say, like, in the kind of the expanded universe, that the T-1000, because it's liquid metal, had to basically be covered with a sort of flesh sack,
Yeah.
basically like scrotal flesh.
But then if that
A bit like what I was
works,
handling earlier.
yeah, basically.
if covering something with a layer of flesh works for some reason, why didn't they put like loads of futuristic weapons in a little flesh sack and send that back with him?
It's a little flesh backpack.
Little,
A ball bag.
loads of
It's a little-
giant
little-
scrotums full of guns turning up all over all over Los Angeles.
Just a scrotum. Like,
It's something
one
to
of
do
those-
with the field created by living tissue.
It's one of those things that if they could travel in time, I'm sure they'd travel back in time and go, should we just say he can travel back in time?
Mm.
No one's going to care.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've gone too far down the ball sack bag path. Let's just say it works. All
It
right?
just works. Just
yeah.
works. It's the future. They've got robots. Robots taking over the world. You
Yeah.
can
It
It was
travel
very-
back in
somebody
time.
obviously had the image in their head of a naked Arnold Schwarzenegger appearing in the middle of nowhere and was like,
Yeah.
make that work. Come up with a
Yeah.
reason for that.
And that was actually Tom, because he's already gone back in time and gone, I need this in my life.
Mhm.
You're welcome.
Arnie turns up. He's single shouldering his backpack, his Dora the Explorer testicle sack that he's got over his shoulder.
Yeah. It's amazing. There's a whole range of accessories from scrotal duffel bags all the way down to simple clutch bags.
Yeah.
Oh, you
So-
and maybe even purses.
Maybe even purses, purses. So the thing that always confuses me about it is this whole paradox that's created by the fact that Skynet is created from the reverse engineering of the smashed CPU of the first Terminator.
Yeah.
That was sent through. So the Arnie Terminator gets smashed in the hydraulic press. It's its CPU and ARM that are reverse engineered to create Skynet by Miles Dyson in Terminator 2, and continued by what's his name, Brewster, like General Bruce, Colonel Bruce, or like
Something like that,
Colonel
yeah.
General, something like that.
He travelled back in time to earn millions and then try and spend
So-
them really quickly.
So that's the weird one for me. Basically, it's almost an infinite causality loop. Without that Terminator, Skynet can never be built. So therefore, it's almost like it's always going to happen.
Yeah.
Skynet is always a destination paradox. It'll always have to happen.
But that's why he has the
Terminator's
whole-
quite a good example of the knots you can end up tying yourself in if you just
Yeah.
want to churn out more movies without really having thought about it too hard.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
kind of fucked themselves over a bit, didn't they?
So
I mean, I
When-
thought
when do you
Genesis
think they
was
took-
bad.
Yeah. When
I
do
mean,
you
I
think
thought Genesis was bad, but that was nothing compared to Dark Fate.
you didn't like it? I haven't watched it, but I've heard it's good. Like, not great.
Okay,
but
well, as
good.
someone who has watched it, not good. If you
Yeah,
like the
I know,
first
but
two,
Tom-
I watched Genesis.
what
Some of your opinions on films,
are different to yours, which doesn't
Genesis
make me
is
wrong.
Yeah, which
very
makes them
bad.
bad.
I've not
Yeah.
seen Salvation. but
Salvation's good. I enjoy
Genesis is
Salvation.
awful.
Salvation's.
It's
Which
a
one's
flawed-
Salvation?
Salvation's the one with Christian Bale. It's
Oh,
a flawed. It's a
that's not
flawed
great.
film, but
No, I
it's.
didn't like that.
But I think it's one of the only ones that's tried something different.
Well, yeah,
all
they
the
tried to
ones.
actually further the story rather than remake the first one again.
There you go.
It's just like constantly been what Terminator is. So yeah,
But is
I'll give you
T2
that.
the best one?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
What?
fuck you, mate. Come
What?
on.
the first one is the best.
No,
No, it
Terminator
isn't. I mean,
Terminator is the best one.
Terminator 2 is the best Terminator.
Yeah.
It's for me. It's like
Russ,
it's
just
like that.
mute him. Mute him.
It's,
I can only mute all of you. I might just do that.
No, for me, it's like that. It's like they are so close. No, not docking.
So I
They
think
are.
if I press this button, now we can't hear you. Oh, it's so much better.
All of us?
all
I've got
of
to be
us.
honest. I'm not 100% sure what that did. We'll find out
Can you
later.
hear us?
Yeah, don't worry. It's all for comic
Okay.
effect. I've not actually
Can
fucked it up.
some?
Okay.
Can we hear Tom?
I might have fucked it up. No, he's gone into one of his sulks now because we said that Terminator 2
No,
was
I'm
the best
not. I'm
Terminator.
not. No. You again. It's like that bit in High Fidelity where Dick says to Barry like he likes something else, and Barry slams his hand down on the desk and goes, "Bullshit!" And it's like, and Rob goes, "Why is it bullshit for a statement of preference?"
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! That's just adding High Fidelity to the list of films I want to watch again now. So that's,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like,
So I mean,
like
I
say,
believe that you believe that Terminator 1 is the best Terminator.
so close. Like they are, for me, they are so close. I personally prefer the first one because I like the whole, the sort of human machine dynamic rather than machine versus machine. Although in Terminator 2, it is a fucking fantastic bad guy. Like he's, Robert Patrick played the T-1000 and the special effects, like they stand up to this day.
I was about to say that film
Brilliant.
still looks
They
good.
really
And
do. Because they were used so sparingly.
Yeah.
So sparingly. And he
Also-
did, like, I think he probably didn't get enough credit at the time for how he acted an emotionless machine. But he's so fucking creepy in that film.
Yeah,
And also-
really
It
good.
was terrifying.
badass Sarah Connor in that film as well.
badass Sarah Connor in that
Yeah.
film. Also, my favorite moment is when he at the Pescadero Hospital, where he sort of goes through the gates while the doctor's standing there and gets caught, and it's his gun. He sort of looks down in confusion, and it's his gun has gotten caught. It's just a nice little tweaky kind of nod.
It's
Yeah.
good humor in that film as well. The funny bits are funny. When John Connor turns to him and just goes, "Right, you can't kill anyone," and he shoots the guy in the kneecap.
He'll live.
He'll live.
Yeah. That's good, and also has the iconic moment where he with the minigun, which
Yeah.
of course is great.
Yeah.
Trust me.
It's
So
just such a
good.
great underdog story as well, because like he is nothing. We're just talking about Terminator now. He doesn't hold a candle to the T-1000.
I'm an
And yet-
obsolete design.
Yeah,
And
he's like an original era PlayStation up
Yeah.
against.
Yeah,
It's like
basically.
a ray tracing PC.
Because
Yeah.
he's not even. No, he's a T800 still in that one, isn't he? In Terminator 3, I think he's an 850, which is like a slightly upgraded plasma shield. But even then, he's like,
It's basically an
TX.
Amiga 1000,
Yeah, M.2 drive. Yeah, instead of SSD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amiga 1200.
and see, this is the thing. This is why for me, Terminator 3 feels a bit
Shit.
weird because she's just way too powerful, man. Like she's like literally got. It's like, well, how do we get around the whole not having weapons? We'll just make her have loads of weapons in her hands, like, and she is fucking petrified.
Almost invincible, because even the
Basically,
traditional way of how they got rid of T-1000 didn't really work against her. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, yeah, so that's Terminator.
Cool.
Nice.
The reason why I didn't go with the DeLorean is it runs out of fuel too easily,
That was and
you
however-
need a run up.
however, by Back to the Future 2, it's running on recycling basically.
On a
Not-
Mr.
Not the
Mr.
not for
Fusion.
propulsion.
Yeah.
That powers the time circuits, but you still got to get up to
Ah.
88 miles an hour with petrol.
Okay, I mean that's the easy part though, isn't it? Like,
Well, yeah, but then
No,
see Back to the
because a
Future 3.
DeLorean actually struggles to get to 88 miles per hour anyway.
Well, I know that's the joke about it, but like, the time travel is the difficult part, isn't it? Let's be honest. You could put
For
like
a
a much
DeLorean,
just put a bigger engine in the DeLorean. The time travel. Don't
a
get caught up on
DeLorean,
the
a DeLorean
details.
in the 80s would have been, it could have got up to 90
Hmm.
miles an hour. Might have taken a while, but it would have done it. These days,
I mean-
you'd struggle to get 50 out of one. But
What I quite like about that whole film is, the whole series is the kind of the beginning of it where it's established that Doc Brown has basically burned through his family's entire fortune devoted to creating the DeLorean time machine. And it's that fateful meeting in that in the shopping mall car park with Marty that sets these whole three films on their merry way. I just love it. I love that. That's what happens. It's just they bump into each other.
What do you think makes that kind of environment a perfect setting for a time travel film? Like you've got the DeLorean, you've got in Terminator 1, he just is in a warehouse, isn't it? Actually,
What's that?
he turns up in a warehouse in Terminator 1, doesn't he?
No. Who?
Uh,
Kyle or
T800.
No, he appears on
It's like a bit of
an
waste ground,
overlook.
isn't it?
Yeah, on an overlook over the city, and he kills those 3 punks.
Oh yeah. Okay. But then outside the Circle K in Bill and Ted as well. Like there's something about the idea of that time at night outside, like either a shopping center or a shop, that kind of seems to really work for time travel films for some reason.
Yeah, in Terminator 2, Arnie appears in the truck car park, well, the truck park or outside that biker bar.
The biker, yeah, that's how he
bar.
gets his clothes. Yeah.
Yeah. How does he appear in Terminator 3? Oh, he just appears in the desert.
The gay bar.
And he goes near the gay bar. That's right.
Which is one of the worst jokes ever, by the way.
With the heart-shaped sunglasses or star-shaped sunglasses or something.
Mm.
I mean, the ironic thing is, like, it's not a very good joke. And actually, the irony is that biker leathers were well out of fashion when that film came out. So when Arnie appears wearing biker leathers again, everyone's a bit like, oh, well, kind of like, it's not very fashionable. And why is there the stereotype that everyone at the gay bar will be wearing biker leathers? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a dated joke, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit.
So we've all discussed how we're going to get wherever we're going.
Dan, I am really interested to hear from you the very tiny changes that you would make in your life through time travel.
I'm making massive changes to make my life slightly better. Okay, so
probably fuck up life for millions of other people.
Yeah, basically.
They're gonna be better than Russ's, because of course his won't be able to affect anything, because he'll, like I said, be 50 million years in the future.
Well, yeah, I mean, for that, I'm just going to use the Futurama popcorn in the microwave technique as well if I ever need to nip back for anything.
That's we've got a listener who has replied with. Well, I'll get into it in a bit, but yeah. So, firstly, I'm heading back to the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to invest a ton of money in some stocks that I know are going to do well. Do the betting on sports events, earn some money. Trust someone I trust from the 80s to believe me that I'm a time traveler from the future that's come back to the 80s and say, look, this is all you need to do all this, you get a cut of the money. Okay. Whilst I'm there in 1986, I'm going to find a way onto the sideline for the Chicago Bears, where I will somehow let Jim McMahon know that Charles Martin's about to pull one of the dirtiest tackles I've ever seen, which ruined the Chicago Bears season. If that doesn't happen, the Bears most likely go on to win a second Super Bowl.
Can I just ask how much of the very granular detail you have to go through is NFL related?
No, not that much. That's just the start. Okay.
Just picture of like waking up in about 45 minutes and go, and then so the next season that would of course mean that they just go back to sleep again.
So I'm hopping back in the time machine.
We've barely scratched the surface, I feel.
I'm hopping back on the time machine, and I am heading to the 90s, where I am checking out my investments, which should be massive at this point. I am looking at a Marvel that is struggling, and I'm going to pump a ton of money into Marvel under the proviso that they never sell the movie rights to Fox. And I'm going to give them advice. I give them instructions to every 2-3 years release a film like the X-Men. Okay, don't get that pedo on it though. But like this time, get someone else to direct it. Bryan Singer, that is. But so that was judgmental, allegedly. So every now and then release like a film like the X-Men. Okay, just keep yourself ticking along. Here is all the money. Yes, I don't expect the money back. Just keep it ticking along until we get to the 2000s. So I hop back in my time machine. I get to the 2000s. I go see Xbox while I'm there. I advise them that the 360,
I just love the idea that you think that as just some mental guy who arrives saying, "Look, I'm from the future.
I'm a billionaire at
Just
this point, Tom.
Okay, you're a billionaire.
Yeah. So,
I love the fact that all of yours are, I will advise them. I will advise them.
I'd worry that you would arrive in the 2000s,
yeah.
and because Marvel never were in financial trouble and they never had to sell the rights to Spider-Man to Sony, and they didn't sell the X-Men rights to Fox, then superhero movies wouldn't have been made, or they would have been made but much crapper, and then the whole thing wouldn't have happened, and you've just destroyed the MCU. Clearly
you were too busy thinking about what you're going to be doing in 1,000 years in the future. What I already said, Russ, that every now and then
you can't just say to them, do exactly what you were going to do, but everything's completely different.
No, I can say, here is all the money that will keep you ticking over for a decade, right? All I ask in the process is that you release a film under an independent distributor that it will basically be the X-Men films and the Spider-Man films.
So you want to arrive in the 2000s and basically everything is exactly the same apart from some of the logos that pop up at the start of the movies.
I forgot to mention, I've given them an envelope that they can't open for another 30 years. Okay, so they've got this envelope, right? They can't open it for another 30 years, but I will make sure they never go out of business. Okay. But they've got to release these films.
But they didn't go out of business anyway. So
no, because they sold their movie rights, Russ. Try to keep up. So so we get to the 2000s, okay? The 360's being designed, and I was like, maybe put another fan in it.
So you ring up Microsoft and go, hello, I'm a nosy billionaire that
hello,
you've never
Mr.
heard of.
Yeah, hello.
I've got some industrial design advice for you.
Yeah, just put another fan in it. That's all. Just put another fan in it and you will have created the perfect console.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so moving into the future to 2009. Okay.
Are you stopping J.J. Abrams?
No, I'm leaving Star Wars alone. That's a lost cause.
No, stop him.
So
stop him.
I've got my own path. I'm busy. 2009, right? And besides, I don't want to mess with Star Wars just in case that means that Rogue One doesn't get made. So like, I'm cool with it. I'm leaving Star Wars.
In your new future, are we still doing the podcast?
No, I'm a billionaire. Fuck this shit.
Because he's doing this for the monies.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking because when we get to the conclusion of all this, the reason I'm doing all this, you'll realize that that I need to I need to do the podcast so I can talk about it. So 2009, right? I go to Marvel and I say, have you spoken to Disney about selling the movie rights to some of these films? Okay, I'll set you up because I know people, and
because I'm a billionaire.
Yeah, and I'll be in on the meeting obviously because I own Marvel Comics and I've seen everything. So we're lawyers. So
it's for the website. Oh, it's just recurring, isn't it?
It's so
every
good.
Time.
It's one of the new ones. Yeah. So I say, well, here's what we got now for properties. You have all of the Avengers, you have the X-Men, and you have Spider-Man as well. Kerching, Disney now own them. The MCU is set in motion. Everything from here should be roughly the same. Okay.
Just so more Spider-Man in it.
I briefly pop in to see the Chicago Bears, invest in a ton of money, get in a boardroom with them so I can say, not Mitch Trubisky. How about Patrick Mahomes? And then I go see Xbox again and I say,
they're going to be sick of the fucking sight of you.
I turn up like twice in a decade, Tom. It's okay. Yeah. And I go to their brainstorming session for the Xbox One. And I see like all the shit they've got on there, like control your TV from your Xbox, connect, always online. And I scrub it out and I say, fucking games. That's all I write on there. That's just write games. Okay. And then I walk out. I'm basically like a time traveling Star Magic Jackson.
Star Magic Jacksoning the Xbox 360.
That's me. Yeah. Of all this. So yeah. I think I've done enough now. Okay. So I go back into the future. The Chicago Bears are winning Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. The Xbox is a perfect console, about to release another perfect console. And I go to this is when I go to Marvel and I go, open that envelope. And they open the envelope and it just says Gambit movie. And then I go, you're welcome. And then I walk out.
Nice. Okay, wow.
I'm traveling through time to become a billionaire so we can get a decent Gambit movie.
I mean, some people might argue that they're more sort of things of benefit to society as a whole that you could have done. Than
What are you going to do
alter the
1,000 years in the
alter
future?
The trajectory of the Bears and make the Xbox 360 a bit better. But I'm 100% behind you. I think that's
Who's coaching the Bears at this time? Are you getting Andy Reid in?
I don't know how I could do that, how I can make that happen. I think Matt Nagy with Patrick Mahomes might be okay.
Well, that you don't know how it's going to happen, but everything else you're just like, well, I'm a billionaire, so I tell him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's unrealistic, Russ. Come on.
Because the way business works is if somebody's got more money than you have to do what they say.
You're more likely to get Bruce
Business.
Arians, aren't
Yeah, someone like Bruce Arians, maybe. Yeah, there we go.
That would work.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's my plan. That's my plan to get a Gambit movie by traveling through time and becoming a billionaire and spending it all in the process.
Nice.
Fair enough.
There we go.
All right, there we go.
So, Russ, what are you doing in the future?
So, as previously mentioned, if I need to go back, I use the popcorn in the microwave. I didn't say that relativistic travel is what I would use.
No,
I
that's
said it's my
exactly what you
favourite.
said.
No, I said
That's exactly what you said.
it's my favourite way of doing it because it makes it slightly less impossible. So I've sort of thought on a fairly small scale about this. You know when you're having an argument and it's an hour later when you think of the perfect thing to say. Any time that's happened, you go back, so you sort of stomp out the room fuming, and then you from the future appears, goes, don't worry, I've got this, and then goes back into the room going, and another thing, and then you win the argument.
You know what you would want? That device that Hermione uses in the Harry Potter movies to go back so she
time
can
turner.
do... Yeah, the time turner.
Yeah.
That, I think, is quite a
Minute turner.
short period.
Well, it depends,
Short period of
it's
time.
24 hours, isn't it, for each time you turn it over?
Yeah, so you
And
could
then-
do it.
For the rest of the books, the fact that they can travel through time and that might be quite useful, nobody mentions it ever again.
No.
No.
People
Very
die,
ridiculous.
shit happens. God, it'd be useful if we could go back an hour and sort all this out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think J.K.
I
Rowling's
wonder.
probably got bigger problems right now, though. That she's a horrific human being.
Allegedly.
No.
She's been coming up with some very. I just don't get why people get so upset about this stuff that doesn't affect
No,
them in any way
neither.
whatsoever.
Exactly.
Like Graham Linehan of late on Twitter, he's gone fucking insane.
Apparently,
It's a real
he's
shame.
always been a bellend. Apparently, that's the thing I've heard.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
hate it when
he's-
people you admire turn out to be complete dicks. But never mind.
The story about Graham Linehan is that he always has to be right. That's what I'd heard from. Is it Limmy? Told a story about him. Like
Yeah.
3 years on, to prove a point, he got back to him about to this one guy he met once at like a dinner party or something.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to win very small arguments with
Yeah.
the sort of the devastating put down that you thought of 4 hours later, but right there in the moment. And also, I mean, this wouldn't work now, so you'd have to go back to, at least a year or so ago. But I'd want to see how many iterations of myself I could send past the free samples counter at M&S in London Coney before eyebrows started being raised.
Like dressed differently with like different hats, fake mustaches, sunglasses,
I
that
don't
kind of
even
thing.
know. I don't even know dressed differently, but like popping up too quickly for it possibly to have been a quick run around the aisle.
Can I?
So like literally turn around and there's another one of you behind you, but
Can I?
20 or 30 of them.
Can I
getting a
tell you
little-
my
a
second
little
idea
slice
then?
of charcuterie.
Because it's very similar to that.
Mhm.
I will travel back to the 90s and Avengers style create infinite time loops, timelines with Bill Murray doing different shit on the same day. So just like every morning when he wakes up, just set up things for Bill Murray to either fail at or do really well. Film the whole thing and release it as Groundhog Day 2.
I mean, there's got to be an easier way of doing Groundhog Day 2, but yeah.
No, I can't think of any
Can't think
easier
of-
way of doing
yeah.
this.
Yeah. That was the other idea I had, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tom, what do you do?
Oh, is that yours done?
That's it. Win petty arguments, get cheese samples.
Fair dues, man. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not blind to the sort of relative levels of impracticality of my chosen time travel method. But I like to think that it would be easier. I mean, I imagine having the sort of time displacement technology in my garage, and every time I kind of want to do something of any importance, I have to go back, lube myself up and then get into the time. I don't know why I have to lube up. Where did that come from?
It's clearly just something that's important to you. So
Yeah.
How small's your garage, Tom?
Yeah. Take all my clothes off, or I don't know, maybe it's something I can control myself, but I just, even though, I click my fingers or something, and even though I do that, I still appear 2 foot in the air, butt naked in a bubble and just land on the floor. I think I'd like to do it at certain moments through time where it would really make the biggest impact, and to do that, I think I would have to be able to do it myself. It would have to be something I do myself. But I would like to think that maybe, when King George was giving his famous speech at the beginning of the Second World War, with Lionel there coaching him, naked
there's
Tom,
you in Wembley
bam!
Stadium.
appears next to him.
Just
wanted
running
to-
around.
Just wanted to say, I think you're doing a great job. Keep it going. You've mastered the stammer. Well done. And
It'd be like that Red Dwarf had some really good time travel stuff in it, didn't it? But you like that one where
Yeah.
they can go back in time via photos, and he's standing behind Hitler at the Nuremberg rally, going, "Don't listen to him; he's a complete
Yeah.
nutter."
complete nutter. I think there are just loads of times where it would just be really funny.
Yep.
I think to appear
Janet
naked.
Jackson at the Super Bowl with Justin Timberlake, and you could pop up right at that moment, going, "Whoa!" and then disappear again.
Yeah. But it's
Like
always
covering her nipple, but completely exposing your cock and balls, like in the process.
Absolutely.
That's how different history would have been from that point.
Exactly. I mean, this is the point. The divergence is massive. Obviously, not obviously wanted to make too light of the current situation, but as Boris was giving his stay at home, pre-lockdown,
Boom!
yeah, bam,
If
on
only
the
I'd got my
table,
cock
bottom.
out at the Super Bowl, this would never have happened.
Yeah.
You could just land on the desk and just teabag him at the same time.
But also what I would like to do, and I think I've already discussed this before when we discussed what Infinity Stone we would want and why. Time manipulation was the one that I chose, and it would have been primarily to set up Dan in an ever increasing amount of ball related situations. I like to think that over the next years I'm going to study Dan's whereabouts perfectly, to the point where I will know at any given moment where his mouth will be at its widest, so I can just appear straight on top of him.
Every time he yawns,
Yeah.
it's just a thunk.
Yeah, because as I said, I'm appearing 2 feet in the air. That's enough ground clearance to hi Dan, and then out of existence.
Is
later.
all of you appearing, or is there like a little sort of portal like that you could just kind of dip
your
through?
nuts.
Little tiny wimey glory hole.
literally a literal wormhole? I mean that would be quite good, although I would be scared of the portal closing.
Shunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. Balls in one reality, and yeah. So that's it. That's basically what I'd do. I mean, I'd probably try to invest. I'd probably go back to invest in Apple, bit further back. maybe invest a little bit in that. Or maybe I could go really boring and be like, anytime I get kind of caught short at work, when my boss comes over and says, have you done that spreadsheet? And I'm like, fuck, I haven't done that spreadsheet.
Just teabag him.
Appear naked at my desk and get working. Like, no, don't worry, I'm just doing it now. And then there's the whole HR issues after that. But
Clearly.
so there we go. That's what I'd do.
Nice. Sexual
I
assault.
briefly had the thought that what you could do is travel back in time,
Just on
earn,
Dan.
It's just
though.
Dan.
Just Dan, though. Yeah.
become a billionaire, and then give Marvel slightly more money and hand them an envelope and it says "Never make a Gambit movie."
Yeah, it's funny actually. Your
Of
idea
all the
is just to
people
make
that
Marvel richer.
You can make
Yeah.
lots of money, and what you are choosing to do with that is make one of the richest companies in the world slightly richer.
Well, no, I don't care about that. I just want the Gambit movie. that's the whole point of it.
Wonderful.
Whatever happens. I'm not trying to stop the coronavirus or anything. Just fucking Gambit movie. Let's have it.
I think, if we've learned anything from movies, stuff like, history has a narrative behind it. We're not
100%.
taking responsibility for anything like that. It's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Just make the damn Gambit movie.
There, Duncan.
He's actually to your left.
I was about to say.
It's
And
probably
Tom,
to,
you're
probably
actually
to your
down
right
there.
though, because you're mirrored.
You're down there.
Oh, I am mirrored, aren't I?
No. I'd imagine if Tom's to you, if you're to Tom's left, Duncan, then Tom is probably to your right.
I mean, I think we've
No.
covered this in depth. Basically, it's top left,
Yeah.
Dan, top right, me, bottom left, Tom, bottom right, Duncan.
So I'm
but-
going to point at Tom.
All of you
So-
probably think what is your left is actually your right because it mirrors the image when you're looking at
I'm going to
yourself.
point at Russ.
So
Well
that's
done.
Duncan.
That's Duncan.
I'm
That's
going to
Tom.
No, it
point
isn't.
at Duncan.
Other way, Duncan.
That's Tom, isn't it?
No,
No,
he's
other
the
way,
other side.
Duncan.
That's Tom.
That's Tom. This is riveting for anyone.
There
That's
must
watching.
be like at some point we have to do a supercut of the podcast of all the times we've done this,
But-
and I reckon
hey,
it'd be the
but what?
2-hour pod.
Anyway.
So
Sorry, I just had a moment where I was like, but why is the one I'm not expecting to?
I would go back.
It's because of the difference
And-
in expectation and perception between a mirror image and an actual image. When you look at yourself in a camera screen, you expect it to behave like a mirror, but it's not a mirror. So that's why what you think is left is right.
Oh, wow, so this is actually what I look like.
Yeah, you point a camera at yourself and look at the screen and hold up some writing, you'd be able to read that writing properly, wouldn't you? But if you hold up a mirror and look at yourself, it's reversed. And that is how you expect to see yourself. You don't need to
Oh, yeah,
do
that's
it
the
now.
right way round. Yeah, that's the right way round.
That's why,
Right.
so your selfie camera on your phone mirrors the image normally by default. So if you were to look at some text in the selfie camera on your phone, it probably would be reversed because it gives you a more familiar image of yourself, and left and right behave the same way. It doesn't.
Oh, it does come up backwards, doesn't it?
It would reverse it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's a,
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
what-
very interesting sort of perceptual thingy if you weren't
Yeah.
a bunch of fucking cretins.
Oh no, I can see it. It comes up properly now on the thing. Yeah. There we go. So what are you doing, Duncan?
I mean, I'm just going to go back and answer the big questions. Like, make sure I take a photo camera with me and take photos. Like, Jesus, what's that about?
But what
And
what
I'll
you
do
would
it
come
in
back with is a photo of a guy.
Yeah,
It
pretty
wouldn't.
well.
Nobody's gonna look at that photo and go,
But I would
It
come
is
back with
Jesus.
artifacts
Yeah, that's
from
true.
the time, so you could always date it because archaeologists get jizzy about that kind of shit, like
no, but you
pottery.
couldn't, how,
I mean,
how could you date it? If you went back in time and got something and brought it back with you, it wouldn't be old, would it? Fucking Time Cop gets this wrong when they carbon date the gold. It wouldn't
You
be
time
that
cop.
old, would it?
yeah, but it would be the design.
I can't believe
Right.
Time Cop got it wrong.
I think Duncan's using this to pad his book out.
Yeah.
That's the that's what I
So
reckon.
I get what you're doing, but if you have access to time travel equipment and want to persuade people of certain things happening, the only way to really do it is to take them back with you, and they'll go, "Fucking hell, time travel works," and then they'd believe anything you said. Whereas if you just turn
I'll
up with
take
a photo
video
of Jesus,
camera and film me doing the whole fucking thing.
no,
and
but
I'll
so
be in the
like
fucking
have you seen
TARDIS.
Just take your
movies
phone with
lately?
you.
They're quite
Jesus.
convincing. People would assume that it was just a movie. So what are you filming to get, like, are you gonna establish who killed JFK, that type of thing?
No, actually, I'll just be going back mainly for my own pleasure to see, well, my shit's buried, and where, but the Dark Ages. No one really knows what's happened then. You just go back, find out what's happening, take
Take a torch.
then take a torch.
Oh, you just appear and just be like, there's fucking nothing going
Right,
on.
lads,
here."
Now,
what's
I was
going
about
on?
to say
What the
I would GPS mark where I buried something.
How?
But whoa! But then I realised obviously I can't do that. Anyway, I was
You
going
could mark very accurately where you put something if you learn how to use a sextant and stuff like that, and then got back into the future, compensated for
like
Sextant.
the
amazing.
change since then. You could
I
do
am
it.
amazing. I would probably make sure that I would go back and see how Stonehenge was built, and just take lots of photos of that happening. Going,
Any sort of pictures from the time would have a very strangely dressed man with like a notepad and a camera in the background.
I love this idea that you have to be in all the pictures though as well. Just like, it's like
because I would
With
be
a
in the
selfie
TARDIS,
stick.
I could actually also talk to everyone, which would be pretty handy.
you can anyway, can't you?
Not if you went back
Suppose
to
it
when
depends where you go.
Stonehenge has been
Okay,
built.
suppose
No,
so, yeah.
You
because
wouldn't understand
like
anyone.
no, they would all be basically speaking of, if it's Britain, then they'll be speaking a form of Welsh, or maybe earlier because it's Stonehenge. So who knows what the fuck they'll be speaking.
Barely understand
Yeah,
down there.
I
these
would
days
go
anyway.
back, see the pyramids built, see Stonehenge built, find out who shot JFK. I'd probably
Actually, that's another one that's covered in red dwarf, isn't it?
yeah,
JFK shot himself.
He did.
yeah.
So that he would be remembered as a hero.
Look at that. There seems to be a grassy knoll.
It's all caused because Lister wants to go back in time to Liverpool and get a curry.
Yeah.
Like that. The one thing that's crap about that episode is, so they can travel through time and space with that device, and all Lister wants to do is get back home to Earth, which apparently it turns out he could have done at any moment, whenever he wanted to. So it's a bit annoying. But apart from that, it's a very good episode.
Yeah. Tika to Ride, I think it's called,
Yeah.
isn't it?
But like the whole motivation behind Lister is get home to Earth, marry Christine Kachansky. And I don't know about the second one, but that device could have got him back to Earth whenever he wanted.
Like although the time dilation device it's enhanced at the end of the 6th series because, of course, the future selves destroy the past selves, which, of course, can't happen because they've already started to change their ways by doing what they're doing anyway. And when they come back, isn't the new Starbug actually, it actually is kind of encases a rupture in space-time. Because
something
of course
like
it's like its storage depths.
They get past explaining it by Crichton's trying to tell one of the scutters about it, and every time it gets too complicated, the scutter explodes.
Yeah.
And I'll stop worrying about it.
Yeah. Just yeah.
Yeah, it has all that weird, like the storage decks and things are sort of 15,000 miles long at one point.
Yeah. Very
weird,
strange.
Weirdness going on. Sorry, Duncan, do continue.
Well, let you finish babbling on about how you'd go back and win arguments and get cheese. I would try and go back to interesting historical events and
mainly from Mr. fucking hoity-toity. Somebody thinks he's better at time travel than the rest of us.
No, I'm just pointing out. You just wibble on. I would probably go back and sort of go into a deal with Bezos about Amazon, so it could just be nicely supplied throughout life.
Hey Bezos, I'll help out. Just pay your fucking taxes, yeah? Come on, don't be a dick.
Ironically, isn't not paying taxes one of the best ways to get rich?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Um,
I will be doing that to help Marvel.
Yeah, just not paid.
Yeah.
I mean, this is seriously what I thought would be quite funny is I would go back and seduce Dan's mum, so I would be his daddy. I just wanted to get so Dan would know who his daddy is. Who's your daddy?
That's really good. I like that. Because I had the genuine thought of like, would I want to go and just get pissed with my parents when they were like teenagers?
No, you wouldn't.
Now, having listened to the whole No Dogs in Space Damned series, I'd probably go back and watch some really good punk bands.
Yeah, I know,
before they
right?
came.
Like that thought crossed my mind as well. Like,
Oh, yeah, you can go back
A
and
lot
see
of
some
time travel
amazing
now
gigs.
would be just going back, seeing bands before they were big, and just going, "Oh yeah, they're really good."
Like
Yeah.
seeing like Jimi Hendrix playing in tiny little pubs in London, things like that.
Yeah, with Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton in the crowd. Yeah, watch
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
I would probably try and bankrupt Richard Branson really early on by just signing all the people that made him really rich.
It was that
And I mean,
it was that
wouldn't
fucking
really
Tubular Bells album, wasn't it? That's what started him
Mike
off.
Oldfield.
Yeah.
Mike Oldfield, but then he also turned down the Damned. I would probably
did?
sign the Damned. I would just start a record label and just sign as many
Signing
big
people
bands
he
as
turned down
Mm.
wouldn't do anything to him, would it? Apart from just confuse him, maybe.
Mm.
You need to get in
Yeah.
there and sign people that he signed, but get in there and get them first.
Was that
It was in
record label
essence-
that turned down Bowie, Rod Stewart, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and like they just didn't like them, so they just didn't sign them. I can't remember what the record label was, but they signed like really psychedelic. Like they had a chance to sign all of those artists or bands, but they chose to sign like off their face on acid bands instead. Some really good psych rock, but like they had the chance to corner history there basically, and went with their gut. And
I
their
would
guts wasn't
also-
good.
I would also probably try and take back in time or tell the Beatles before they get big, maybe get a new drummer.
Oh,
Ah, okay. So
but then
So
that's going to
Ringo-
ruin Thomas the Tank Engine.
yeah, Ringo's fine.
No, whoa. Thomas the Tank Engine is ruined anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
It's ruined me.
It's
Yeah.
ruined.
But like it's I think Ringo's fine. I think the Beatles, whatever happens with the Beatles, you just leave that alone. Because it kind of ended about as well. Well, it didn't end as well as possible because two of them are dead. But
That's
But
it. It
it's-
kind of ended as well as possible.
yeah, like musically
I mean-
though, like yeah.
I mean, Ringo really wasn't that bad a drummer. I mean, he was perfectly functional for the outfit.
Mhm.
Like, you know,
Except for the tracks that Paul McCartney went in and redid the drum tracks for. But yeah,
well, there was an
But let's
excellent
face it, the
article.
Beatles did pretty well with Ringo
yeah,
as their
they're
drummer.
fine. Yeah, they did okay. Yeah,
The thing is, though, like even if you know if all of that stuff is true, and that McCartney did have to re-record and that he wasn't that good, don't you think that Ringo Starr himself might be a slightly more compassionate person than he is? Because of course he did get to that point where he was just like, I've got too much stuff to do. I'm not signing anything else. Peace and love, peace and love. And I watched that, and it's just like, what have you got to do?
nothing.
I mean,
He's
you've
got
got
nothing.
fuck all to do. Like, there's nothing on your agenda apart from talking shit about politics. That's all that's going on in your life. So you can take your fucking peace and love and shove it up your ass. You cunt drummer twat. Anyways.
What's the famous line though? Is Ringo Starr the best drummer in the world? He's not even the best drummer in the Beatles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
I would also probably go back and see, did Rasputin really have a massive cock?
he did.
That that
No, I heard it wasn't true. So
So, I don't know. It's just like I would probably do the Joan of Arc thing. I would probably try and stop the English burning her, and just see what other shit happened there.
Just you with your selfie stick. Just like,
Don't do
That
it, man.
which is even weirder because I don't even have a selfie
Well,
stick.
also, what like?
you don't have a time
Stop
machine
that.
either.
Excuse me, chaps. I know you're all quite het up about this, but I do have to say, in a couple hundred years' time, this is not going to be a good look at all. So, if we could all let's all just settle down. We'll have a cup of tea and we'll talk this out like men.
I would also tell Henry VIII he doesn't need to destroy all the abbeys.
I love that we all
because I just
think that just because we can travel through time, we can convince anyone to do anything.
Gonna
No
big
questions
fuck off
asked.
gun, isn't it? You do as I say, bitch.
Again, the TARDIS, right?
would- he would
Isn't
have
that like
no
a
idea
big
what that
deal
was.
the TARDIS doesn't?
Oh yeah,
carry
TARDIS
guns,
have got sonic screwdriver.
which doesn't do anything
No,
to wood.
Right, we've been wanging on for at least an hour now. We should probably.
We've got some listener ones.
All right, let's do,
Should,
yeah, let's do
Move
Quite
us
nice
to
to see what
wrapping up
Revo
phase
Abbey
of
wants
this.
to look like.
yeah.
That response from Russ was the best. Okay, so Chloe says the Futurama one that only goes
Definitely.
forward because you keep going round and round until you figure out where you can be bothered to stop. Plus,
That's
it's
brilliant.
like
yeah.
roulette. Plus, it's like roulette, so way more interesting than punching in a date. So basically, go forward for ages until you're back in time, and then figure out it from there. So similar to yours, Russ.
Yeah, that's good. The visuals of that are quite amazing. The way they basically animated the entire history of the universe,
Yeah,
and then just like started spinning through it really fast when
but they don't go
missed it a
back
bit.
in time ever, do they? It's just a new reality that's eventually got to the same point as
Yeah.
where they were at. So yeah. Anna says, I would use the TARDIS. In my opinion, it would be the most comfortable one. That's very true. So I'm going with the most girly answer. I'd go for a shopping trip in the 50s or 60s because I love the fashion. Plus, I'd have a lot of space in the TARDIS. Wouldn't be as fun as with the DeLorean, for example. True, like you'd turn up in the 60s with a DeLorean.
Yeah, and there's like no
Yeah.
trunk space in that thing either because
Yeah.
it's all full of crap, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
Full of-
that's
full of
also
time
there's
circuits and things.
time circuits. Yeah, let's not call it crap. I mean, it's quite advanced technology, but yeah, it's all full of
I mean, it's
shit.
not.
Isn't
It's,
it?
And
it's
they can't
actually
even, like
Hoover parts,
even
isn't
the
it? Let's be
hoverboard. He
honest,
just
but-
has to sort of wedge
Yeah.
it down between the seats, doesn't he?
The
That's-
TARDIS would also fit into like the time period of 60s London because there were more phone boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Also, can I just say, I do like that one because it reminds me of when Jeremy on Peep Show is asked by Mark what time period would he go back to, and he just goes, the 50s. And it's like, why? Because, milkshakes were milkshakes and burgers were thick as you like. It's like, it's like, is that it? The 50s?
She also says, and this is a good point. There's not much that could go wrong with a shopping trip, right? I mean, I don't want to change the future by accident. I've seen enough movies to want to avoid such a thing.
True.
True. So just going shopping. That sounds good. Sounds good to me. I'd
Nice.
do that.
Perfect, yeah.
One more. Nicholas says the DeLorean, if I had to choose a machine, it was close call between that and Bill and Ted.
Were there more? It sounded like you were
No, she's
bypassing.
she kind of listening, and she says, "Screw time travel, just get fucked up in a hot tub." So there we go.
There we go. I once had an awkward time in a hot tub with two other men, and yeah, it was strange because I knew one of them really well and I didn't know the other one very well, and the conversation was one of those really kind of weird ones where no one kind of really knew each other that well. And yet we were all
Nobody
in a
knew
hot
each
tub.
other in a naked in water together kind of a way.
Exactly, yeah. It's the sort of like we wouldn't usually get into a bath. sort
You're
of
wearing shorts, though,
situation.
aren't you?
Sure. Yeah, if that's what you're meant to do. Yeah, sure, we were doing that, shorts and stuff, yeah.
By hot tub, do you mean a small bath?
By hot tub,
It
you
is
just
a
mean
slightly
a
weird
bed.
thing, isn't it? Like if you're round at someone's house and they say, "Oh, do you want to, should we get in the hot tub?" That's far more acceptable
Yeah.
than just somebody coming around to your house and you saying, "Do you want to get in the bath with me?" It's not actually all that different.
Yeah, would you like me to give you a personal wash by the sink? I'm all right,
Just
actually.
sponge
I'm-
down.
Hot tub's usually a bit warmer and it's
Right,
chlorinated.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's good. They are. Make sure you keep your
Yep.
bottles of chlorine ready to go. Okay. thanks very much for watching. No, sorry, I'm just trying to see if I can go back in time there.
I think you did a bit. You did it. You flicked
Yeah,
it.
just a little bit. Just a little bit. I actually got my hair back. No, it's still shit. Okay. Thanks very much for watching. If you were watching on YouTube, wave everyone, wave. Keep waving. Now stop waving. Thank you very much for watching if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, I hope you enjoyed this one as well. We're going to say goodbye to the Awesome Foursome in just a second, but I just want to say, if you want to interact with us and tell us what kind of time travel method you'd like to do, where you'd like to go, what kind of things you'd like to do, hit us up on our Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter channels. Just use the handle @TMTOOH. And there's plenty of episodes on Spotify and SoundCloud and other platforms you can listen into as well. And of course, on our YouTube channel, which you can find on YouTube just by typing in capital letters TMTOOH. And that's it. We'll say goodbye to Russ.
Ta-ra.
We'll say goodbye to Duncan.
Cheery bye.
We'll say goodbye to Dan.
Not where, but when.
Yeah, and it's goodbye from Tom. And on that note, let's cue the music.